I just made a big batch of hot sauce, and it's going to be months before I get a tomato off the vine. Let me show you how I did it. The method I used, two different methods actually, show you that you can do it right now too, even if you've got snow on the ground. Hot sauce, salsa, in the middle of winter. So we had a lot of tomatoes in the freezer from last year. Now, before you click off of this and say, well, I don't have any tomatoes in the freezer, you can do this also a different way. Let me tell you about that in a minute, but for right now, we had a bunch of tomatoes in the freezer. Of course, it's getting to be close to be planting time. So how did I do this? I took those tomatoes, my wife had cored them, took off the upper and lower, the blossom end and the stem end. So what we did was take the skins off, let them thaw out. They have to be thawed real well. I mean, really thawed, or they'll just make kind of a watery, puree, soupy mess. So make sure they're very thawed. Thawed them out. She took the skins off. We put them in a pot and got them up to a boil, and then realized that they were not going to break down. These were whole tomatoes. These were not going to break down in the pot into a slurry like we thought they were going to. So we put them in the blender, blended them up, and then so we're, basically have a tomato puree. So how do you make hot sauce? Well, what I did, because since I don't have any tomatoes outside, I don't have any peppers outside either. So I buy this. Now you can use this. This comes from Sam's. It's 2 quarts. It's a big bottle. And last I bought was $2.98. I can't grow them and can them for $2.98. They're not real hot. I can't eat real hot stuff. These are just right, not all that hot. I put about half a can, so about a quart of these in that batch. So I pureed these pickled jalapeno peppers. Again, I don't have any in the freezer. I don't have any on the vine, so that's what I went with. Making hot sauce in the middle of winter. That's what we're talking about here. So the batch of tomatoes we had, once we got them skinned, was about 6 quarts. We put them in a big stainless steel pot. We also I bought some garlic, some minced garlic, and put about 4 or 5 heaping tablespoons in the tomato mix with the peppers. We also put onions in it. I think 3 onions, about the size of a baseball, medium-sized onions. And I ran them through this Vidalia chop wizard. I tell you what, quarter an onion up, set it on the top of that thing, slam the lid down, and it is minced. Got 2 different sizes that it minces, about a 1/4 inch, and one of them was about 1/8 of an inch. I went with the smaller one. This thing is a time saver, dishwasher safe. And I bought this many years ago, and we really like it. My wife uses it at Thanksgiving when she's doing a big pot of dressing or something like that, where she has to cut up a lot of celery or onions, things like that. This thing really does a good job. Not trying to make a commercial here, just trying to show you that there are things, some tools that you may want to invest in, like a good canner, pressure and or water bath, and anything else you might need to preserve your own food. We did salt and pepper to taste, cilantro to taste, just any kind of spice we had. The salt we used was a pickling salt. Figured it would do better in these. So basically everything is to taste. Your peppers would be to taste. Your cilantro would be to taste. My wife likes more cilantro than I do. But, I mean, they're still hot. But just beautiful salsa, hot sauce, whatever. Now, I followed all the procedures that you're supposed to follow. Clean, sterilized jars, wipe the rims. I like to wipe the threads off too, all the way around, and then the rims before you put the rings and lids on. And put them in the canner. I have a canner that I bought about 1.5 years ago. I used it all last year for water bath canning, and I really love it. I'll put a link to it below the video on Amazon. It's about $60. And I tell you what, it's a really good, thick stainless steel canner with a rack in it where you can set the jars on top and then lower them down in there. So I really, really like this canner. One of the best purchases I've made in a long time. A water bath canner is good for things like this that are high acid, like tomatoes, pickling, making jelly, things like that, but is not good for other things. You'll need a pressure canner for that. So be sure and do your research before you start canning as to whether you need a water bath canner or a pressure canner. I've got both. I've got 3 pressure canners and I've got 1 big water bath canner. And I just love that new canner. So my point is, just because it's winter or because it's not growing season yet, doesn't mean you can't make hot sauce. Now, the second method that I said I would give you is for someone who doesn't have any tomatoes, and that's probably most of y'all don't have any tomatoes in the freezer, go down and buy some whole tomatoes in a can, bring it home, run it through the blender, and then start putting your additives in it. We also put a lot of crushed red pepper in it. So it's a little warm, but not too bad. These peppers are not hot at all. If you can't find this, if you can't go to Sam's or something like that and get a big jar of them, most stores carry the Trappy's, C-R-A-P-P-Y, I believe. Trappy's jalapeno peppers, and they are just like this. They're pretty mild, and you can buy enough Trappy's to do you a batch of hot sauce and just amaze your friends that you're making hot sauce in the winter. So anybody can do this. Go down to the store. If you don't have any tomatoes, go down to the store and buy you some whole tomatoes, puree them up, and then add your ingredients and then can them. Again, a link below to that canner. I'll have a link below to the canning kit that we use to pick up the hot jars and stuff. That is invaluable. It's got a magnetic lid lifter that you can get them out of the water when you're heating up the lids and rings. Just really good, a nice little kit if you don't have one already. But make you some hot sauce right now. Impress your husband. You made him some fresh hot sauce. Impress your wife, guys. You made some fresh hot sauce. It's easy to do. And if you have tomatoes in the freezer, it's a good way to get those tomatoes out of the freezer now and make some room for the new batch that we'll have coming off in a few months this summer. All right. I believe that's it. And it's good. And we're gone.